Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real life example of this? My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing, and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. I tried doing that as a kid and got a slap on the back of the head. It was just my dad and I. We both hated doing the dishes, so they would stockpile. It got to the point where he offered to pay me $20 just to do them. Before I got around to it, we went down the road to my aunt's. I ended up offering my cousin $10 if he would come over and do the dishes. He accepted. I wasn't allowed to do that again. Outsourcing and child labor? This kid's destined to be a Nike CEO one day, nephew it. Every year in the Canadian winter, power lines would fail due to the weight of the snow. It took many days to build up enough to break a line, so they employed a team to walk the routes and shake the poles to loosen the snow. One day they saw a bear shaking the poles and realized that if they could get the bear to do it, they wouldn't need to walk the route. So they gave one guy a bucket of honey and he'd walk the route painting the sides of the poles with honey to attract the bears. It worked for a few more years, but this still takes a lot of time to do. So then they had the idea of flying a helicopter along the route with a trained sniper with honey paintballs that he'd shoot the poles with. On its maiden flight, the helicopter passed the lines and the downdraft blew away all of the snow. The flights continue to this day, but without the sniper. Typus and grammar fixed by you/Bra Thirdbird. I don't know if this is a true story, but kind of fits your request. There was a manufacturing plant that made toothpaste. One year, for some reason, there ended up being an unusually high number of empty boxes being shipped out. So in order to stop that from happening, the head of the company hired a couple engineers to develop a system to catch any empty boxes, so they didn't get shipped with the boxes that actually had the toothpaste tubes in them. The engineers developed a system that, if the box weighed below a certain amount, the system would stop, and a worker would have to go remove the box and start everything up again. The person in charge loved the idea and implemented it immediately, and right from the get-go the number of empty boxes shipped dropped to near zero. The head of the company wanted to go see the system in action, so he goes and visits the plant one day and notices a huge fan right by the assembly line. Very confused as it wasn't hot, he asked the plant manager why the fan was there. The plant manager said the workers were tired of stopping what they were doing to remove an empty box, so they just hooked up a fan to blow the empty boxes off the scale before the system recognized it was empty and shut everything off. So laziness led to a more efficient and cost-effective plan. When Carl Friedrich Gauss, the famous German mathematician and physicist, was in elementary school, around 1784, his class was assigned the busy work task of adding all the numbers from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. This usually kept the class quiet for half an hour or so. 7-year-old Cole was sitting quietly with the correct answer, 50-50, while the rest of the class was just starting. So the surprised teacher asked him how he came up with the solution. He replied that he added 1 and 100 and got 101. Then he added 2 and 99 and got 101. 3 plus 98 equals 101, and so on. He realized there was a pattern of 50 pairs of numbers with each pair adding up to 101. And 50x 101 equals 50-50. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours/week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there, all while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry, which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. I've worked a few places that have people doing this. Usually when they retire, the job is given to some younger person that figures out how to do it in 10 minutes on top of the rest of their normal job. My ex-boss gave me an Excel sheet. 124.000 rows Excel sheet. Had all the company customer data per row, twice. In some of those duplicates there was an error. She needed me to go over the list one row by row, to check for mistakes and mark all the faulty entries I could find. Through 124.000 rows. She wanted me to do that using the arrow down key in my mouse. I thanked her. I sat down, invested half an hour into Google, copy-pasted some parts of this formula, then some parts of that. Finally I had figured out the formula. I double-clicked the tiny rectangle so that the formula gets applied on all rows. Worked like a charm. I stood up, got myself a coffee, talked to some colleagues. Then I went to my boss. She had anticipated that I would need 3 days for this task. When I was back less than an hour later, she thought I hadn't understood the task or maybe a follow-up question. I will never forget the expression on her face when I told her I was done. There were 6 faulty entries. A year and a half later I enrolled into computer science at university, where I will finish my undergrad this summer. Imagine doing it their way, to find 6 effing errors. Imagine a company having its 60,000 plus CRM records stored in Excel, fully duplicated, and half of that with errors. The clerk was asked to bring 145 white papers into the office. He doesn't want to count the papers manually, so he printed 145 blank sheets and took them in. Smart. He used a machine that counts as one of its functions, but not the primary function, to do the counting for him. It's just enough outside of the box that most people wouldn't think to do it at all. I knew a guy who had a low-level data/reporting job. He had several daily/weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment, and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload, so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay. But damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it, he would have gotten a pat on the back, and would have been given a whole other workload, on top of maintaining those macros/etc. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. I know a guy who did this, but he revealed it. The company shared the macros with all the employees. It made everyone's life easier, but they also got an increased workload. The company made a lot more money, and this guy made none of it. He didn't even get promoted. That's why I haven't said a word. An engineer spent hours developing a program, so they could start the coffee pot from their desk, and not have to wait for coffee when arriving in the break room. That's pretty much how the first webcam was created too. Lazy computer engineers wanted to see if there was coffee in the pot. I'm so unbelievably happy that this is true. https://www.bbc.co.uk/news/technology 20,439,301 https://www.bbc.co.uk/news/technology 20,439,301. There's a repo on github.com web link containing code based on scripts that were used by a tech employee that is Kawaka's discovered after he left the company. Here's a summary of his shenanigans. Edit. Repo code is based on the story, not actually from this person. XXX. Okay, so, our build engineer has left for another company. The dude was literally living inside the terminal. You know, that type of a guy who loves Vim, creates diagrams in Dot, and writes wiki posts in Markdown. If something anything, requires more than 90 seconds of his time. He writes a script to automate that. XXX. So we are sitting here, looking through his legacy XXX. You're gonna love this. XXX. Smack my beach up punch. github.com web link. / sends a text message late at work to his wife. Apparently. Automatically picks reasons from an array of strings. Randomly. Runs inside a cron job. The job fires if there are active SSH sessions on the server after 9 PM with his login. XXX. Humor asshole punch. github.com web link. / scans the inbox for emails from Kumara DBA at our clients. Looks for keywords like help, trouble, sorry, etc. If keywords are found, the script shares into the client server and rolls back the staging database to the latest backup. Then sends a reply, no worries mate, be careful next time. XXX. Hangover punch. github.com web link. / another cron job that is set to specific dates. Sends automated emails like not feeling well / gonna work from home etc. Adds a random reason from another predefined array of strings. Fires if there are no interactive sessions on the server at 8:45 AM. XXX. And the Oscar goes to fucking coffee punch. github.com web link. / this one waits exactly 17 seconds. Then opens a telnet session to our coffee machine. We had no frickin' idea the coffee machine is on the network, runs Linux and has a TCP socket up and running, and sends something like size brew. Turns out this thing starts brewing a mid-sized half-calf latte and waits another 24 seconds before pouring it into a cup. The timing is exactly how long it takes to walk to the machine from the dude's desk. XXX. Holy sh / t I'm keeping those.
Bye.